Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're talking about the assigned agents. And we've got a little preview of what's to come, and it looks like the assassins have got a massive glow up. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Assigned agents. How to use Imperial Agents in other armies of the Imperium. One of the best things about the new Codex Imperial Agents is the slick assigned agents ability. Lets you include all kinds of units from this book and other armies with the Imperium keyword. This opens up a world of possibilities as Imperial commanders can mix and match their forces like never before with Psychic Inquisitors, Assassins, and Elite Infantry aplenty. 1. Cut off the head of the snake. Inquisitorial forces are rarely cut out for protracted battles, and would much rather eliminate enemy leaders with vicious precision strikes. Assassins are the obvious choice, as they can be easily slotted into your army roster and have specialized skills that make them ideal character killers, like the Vindicare Assassin's new ability to ignore the lone operative rule. Alright, so we had the Vindicare Assassin's new datasheet. So still moves 7, toughness 4, he has a 6-up save and then a 4-up invulnerable save, 4 wounds, leadership 6, OC 1. So no changes there. He carries the Exodus pistol, Exodus rifle, and then Vindicare combat blade. So the Exodus pistol is dev wounds, ignores cover, pistol precision, 12-inch range, 3 shots, ballistic skill 2, strength 6, AP 2, damage 3. So not bad. He could basically precision something if it gets up close to him. The dev wounds isn't particularly effective in this case, but a nice little ability to have. But with a 3-shot pistol hitting on 2s, wounding most characters in the game on either 3s or 2s with -2, 3 damage, he could easily dispatch a character with the pistol. And that includes in combat. And then he also has the Exodus rifle. This is his primary weapon. It is 48-inch range, 1 shot, hits on 2s, strength 8, -3 AP, and a D3 plus 3 damage. It has devastating wounds, heavy, ignores cover, and precision. So it does have some minor changes, but essentially 48-inch range means it can basically target anything on the board. It's heavy, he already hits on 2s, so even if you're shooting at something with stealth, he's likely still going to hit on 2s. Ignores cover is nice because he's basically going to put almost all characters on their invulnerable save, and then even if he's shooting at something like a vehicle with a 3-up save, it's still going to be a 6 because of the ignores cover ability. At strength 8, he's wounding most characters on 2s, which is pretty nice. Tougher characters, it's likely going to be 3s. And with a minimum of 4, maximum of 6 damage, and the fact that 1 in every 6 times he wounds, it's just going to be a straight 4 to 6 dev wounds. So he has the Infiltrator ability, Lone Operative, and Stealth, which means you got to get close to kill him, and he's got that nice pistol to defend himself. Even if you do get close, he's -1 to be hit. And Infiltrators mean you can put him in like a nice position, like a high up perch, or somewhere where he's going to be an absolute nuisance. So now is where his special abilities come in, and he has 2 awesome special abilities. He had them before, but they're now slightly changed. So first is Deadshot. Each time this model makes a ranged attack, when selecting targets for the attack, you can ignore the lone operative ability. So that means he's now going to be able to just take out lone ops. So typically with lone operative, you have to get within 12 inches to be able to target that character, which substantially increases their survivability because you got to get close to him. A lot of lone op characters also have a reactive move, which makes him even more difficult to kill. But with the Vindicare Assassin, you can ignore that ability. So suddenly your opponent with a bunch of lone op characters, or even just one important one, or for instance something like a Ghost Keel, is under massive threat of death, even at range. So very cool ability, nice changes. And then we have the Shield Breaker, and this is phenomenal. Once per battle when selecting targets for this model's Exodus rifle, so you can't use it on the pistol, it has to be the rifle. It can fire a Shield Breaker round. If it does, until the end of the phase, each time this model makes an attack with this weapon, add 1 to the wound roll, and any successful wound roll scores a critical wound. So that means once per game, you're going to be able to get +1 to wound. You're typically already wounding on 2s, but if you're on 3s, that's going to put you down to a 2. Even if you're shooting something like a vehicle, you're normally going to be wounding on 5s, that puts it down to a 4. So still gives you a 50% chance of wounding it. Previously, it would ignore invulnerable saves if you use the Shield Breaker round. Now it just automatically gives you a dev wound because critical wound is going to be a dev wound, which means once per game, you could basically pick a character that you can see, even if it has lone op, hit it on 2s, wound it on 2s, and do a straight up 4 to 6 dev wounds. So absolutely phenomenal ability. This dude is going to be a menace on the tabletop. And I really like the changes. I think they did a great job making the Vindicare Assassin much more of a viable option. And this dude is going to completely change how your opponent plays a game. He has the ability now to take out a character pretty easily, just in general, but once per game, almost guarantee it. He also now has almost a 50% chance to do 4 to 6 mortal wounds on a vehicle. So that's about like a quarter to a fifth of a Land Raider or a Knight's life. So if there's some super powerful armor out there especially if you keep a command reroll for that wound roll, as it is still going to be a 50% chance. You can make it 75% chance to eliminate a very tough, very heavily armored target. So I really like these changes. I think we're going to see a lot more Vindicare assassins on the table. He was already good before, but now I think it's phenomenal. It is worth note though that all of the assassins are epic heroes, so they are treated like unique character models, which means you're only going to be able to have one of each assassin in your list. Now previously, because of the way the assigned agents worked, you could only ever have 2 assassins in your list, which I was running the Calidus and also the Eversur, and they both performed phenomenally well on a regular basis. They were okay at killing when they needed to be, they were very good at scoring, and they were actually excellent trade pieces, especially the Eversur Assassin, because there's not a lot of things in the game that are 75 points that are going to kill a 75-point model, and then they almost always have to get up close to it to kill it, which means whatever they trade for it is likely going to be a come up for you. So I love these changes. I think they did a really good job on this so far. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the other changes and the potential out there for the other assassins. But I got to tip my hat to Games Workshop on this one. I love these rules. This dude is extremely powerful, and I am definitely planning on taking him in my list. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. If assassins are the scalpel, Grey Knights Terminators are the hammer, and their ability to deep strike makes them a terrifying threat to hold in reserves. Strike Force armies can only take 1 unit at a time, but their sheer power can rip through bodyguards like paper and carve their way to opposing warlord while deep within enemy lines, and they can bring an Inquisitor along for the ride. So most people are playing Strike Force, so honestly the fact that you could only take 1 unit of Grey Knights Terminators, not really going to be a game changer, but cool nonetheless. 2. Zoom across the battlefield. Many agents of the Imperium units have dedicated transport vehicles that can bring along without using up the assigned agent's allowance, giving your army a fast-moving reaction force that can capture distant objectives, block enemy movements, and generally take back momentum from an early rush. The Corvus Blackstar is the king of speed in Codex Imperial Agents, pairing a serious arsenal of weaponry with the ability to transport up to 12 Deathwatch models, and as an aircraft it can zoom right over anything that might get in your way. If you prefer a more terrestrial solution, the Imperial Rhino can carry about anything you find in the book, Terminators aside, and is cheap enough that you use a convenient distraction once it releases cargo. So the Corvus Blackstar has had pretty bad rules. Flyers in general are extremely powerful in the edition, so Games Workshop has to point them a little bit higher than they probably deserve to make sure that people don't spam them and create a bad playing experience. So I am interested to see how the Blackstar is and if they have any actual play now. But the ability to take rhinos across the entire book is nice, as you essentially have like the requisition transport ability, which has always been kind of cool and very thematic. 3. Bulk out your roster. Imperial armors run the entire spectrum, from the Endless Legions of the Astra Militarum to the hyper-elite Adeptus Custodes and Imperial Knights. When you have only a handful of expensive units on the battlefield, some extra low-cost support ensures your big hitters spend less time messing around with objectives and more time smashing. For the low price of only a single Armiger Warglaive or Halverin, you can draft 2 units of Inquisitorial Agents into your Knight's Lance to keep the backfield objectives company. Or even equip a single squad with an Inquisitorial Chimera to keep up with your Knights and screen from enemy deep strikes. If cost is of the essence and compact Voidsman armed squads are extremely cheap way to add more bodies, and having 6 models with the OC characteristic of 2 means they punch far above their weight when contesting objectives. So this is something I was already doing on occasion. I personally like the Voidsman at arms because it's basically the cheapest unit you can take for a Space Marine army. 50 points, you got 5 models. I do expect some minor changes to some of these data sheets, so we got to take it with a grain of salt. But for 5 bodies with OC2, they were definitely nice to have in your list for 50 points. So here we do see some minor changes to the Voidsman at arms, as now it's 1 Voidmaster, 4 Voidsmen, and a cannon. Still OC2, toughness 3, save 4 up. Not really going to kill anything, but if some Chief Chaff gets close, they're going to have lethal hits on all their ranged attacks. And if you don't move them, everybody's going to be hitting on 4s. And you can dish out a decent amount of firepower. But likely with the addition of the cannon to the Voidsman at arms squad, I do expect their costs to go up above 50 if you're going to be allying them in. Number 4, Hold the Fort. A few of the more numerically gifted factions under the Imperial umbrella trade the advantage in manpower for durability, and struggle to hold the line against enemies optimized to shred lightly armed and armored infantry by the dozen. A quick injection of an armored support from the Imperial Agents can help you hold the midfield objectives where the fighting is fiercest, especially when bringing power armor units into factions that otherwise lack them. Deathwatch kill teams and battle sisters are both perfectly suited to reaching critical objectives and holding them against enemy assault. Each has plenty of wounds between them, backed up by 3-up saves. With the armored holds of their own dedicated transports offering safety in a pinch, while their own weapons have enough range to ensure you're still able to contribute to fights, should your opponent wisely decide to go around your immovable object. Remember though, Imperial Agents included in a different army have slightly higher points values than normal, to reflect how useful they are in plugging gaps and maintaining balance. Find out more about this here. How will you make use of Imperial Agents in your own army? Make these tactical decisions when the brand new Codex goes up for pre-order this Saturday. So pretty cool. Honestly, so far the book has been a little bit underwhelming. Games Workshop hasn't really showed off anything that's been great up until the Vindicare Assassin. I am super excited to put this guy on the table. There's definitely some potential now, as essentially because these guys are epic heroes, previously Imperial Agents weren't really a viable army on their own, but now with the addition of Deathwatch into their actual faction army, and obviously I am a Deathwatch player, even though we lost a lot of the cool and unique kill teams, one massive bonus to taking an actual Agents of the Imperium army is you're no longer going to have the restrictions to how many of these units you can include. So previously in my Deathwatch army, I could have 2 of the retinue units and then 2 characters at 2,000 points. But if we're playing strictly a Agents of the Imperium army, you don't have those same restrictions. So there's potential now to actually run a viable army with 4 assassins. The Calidus assassin was already extremely good. The Adversar was great for 75 points as an action monkey. The Vindicare was already pretty good, and now he looks phenomenal. And the Caluxus wasn't bad either and provided some nice anti-psychic threat. So the viability of being able to take all 4 assassins in an actual functioning army, especially combined with Deathwatch, definitely opens the floodgates for some potential to actually be good. So let me know what you think of the changes to the Vindicare Assassin, what you think of Deathwatch getting rolled up into the Agents of the Imperium. I'm super excited to actually get a hold of the book and take a look at it with an open mind, and hopefully it's going to be viable, fun, and competitive. But always like to hear back from you guys in the comments, and as always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. Time to paint up those assassins, and I'm out of here.